G'day nerds, my name's Decky and I suck at Black Desert. Black Desert, or BDO, Black Desert Online, is referred to as a sandbox MMORPG with action combat, exploration, trading, gathering, and crafting skills. So there's a little something for everyone in this MMO. It's been popping off recently, so I want to find out, is it any good? Let's find out together and dive into the world of BDO. First things first, I just want to mention how beautiful the game looks. The art and design team really did a tremendous job at working on the textures, landscape, spell animations, and monster design. It looks like it was released only recently, not almost 10 years ago. The spells have really great audio-visual feedback. My strong cooldowns on my Magu felt like I was just sweeping enemies off the screen. And the filler spells, whilst not as intense, still had a great sense of power to them and gave some really nice brevity to the combat as well. So it was really cool filler spells with ridiculous fucking spells woven in between. This gave the gameplay a fast-paced and engaging feeling to it, and goes to show you that filler spells don't have to be fucking boring. You know, they can still be flashy and still feel good to use when you're not just blowing your loads on your other massive spells. It doesn't feel like you have to be coked out of your brain just to comprehend what's happening. Like, I think this feeds really well into the combat design of the game as well. So the combat's really fun, it's engaging, and if you're a really big fan of fighting games, you'll probably really enjoy this MMO as well. Probably over most MMOs actually. It's not your static rotation of like Frostbolt, Ice Lance, Flurry, Frostbolt, Ice Lance, Flurry, and so on. No hate on WoW. That combat has its place too, and it's personally my preferred style of combat in an MMO. It's just that if you are someone who finds that kind of rotation really boring, then this might be a perfect game for you. However, and this is my main complaint with BDO. It's that you aren't taught anything of the combat. The game does have external guides on the official website. You can look up rotations and class guides on YouTube as well, I'm sure. But in game, no. It feels fairly intuitive. I'll give them that. Your S modifiers send you back. Your W1 send you forward. Your shift modifiers are like your big damage cooldowns, but there is literally not a single tutorial in-game telling you this, other than a big clunky HUD tells you the buttons to like 2/3 of your abilities, and you have to figure out the rest. I didn't even know there was a fucking dodge mechanic in the game. I literally just accidentally tapped D twice and I dodged, and I was like, well, guess there's a dodge. There are also combos on the screen as well that swap between different kind of combos occasionally. It's super fucking unfun staring at a combo list and trying to execute it rather than just playing suboptimally. So that's what I did. I just played suboptimally and enjoyed the gameplay. Crazy, I know. MMOs can be enjoyed. Whilst I really enjoyed the combat and blowing my load on mobs, I couldn't help but feel like what I was doing just wasn't right. And
Wrong.
I was just not doing anything correctly. So I went to combat trainers and none of them had any in-game guides. I mean, look, it's not the worst thing in the world. If your combos don't matter early on and the mobs just die even though you're playing suboptimally, that's fine. It's just like the main gripe that I felt about the combat, being a new player. Also, I'm predominantly a WoW, Final Fantasy XIV, and old school RuneScape player, so I'm used to looking up rotational guides, but I wanted to come in from a fresh player perspective. So if you're thinking, just watch a YouTube video, that's exactly my point. I didn't want to watch a YouTube video because new players aren't going to think about rotations. They're not going to do that if they've never played an MMO before. And this is a bit of a theme in BDO, where it's kind of inaccessible to new players. The HUD and the UI is cluttered at best with so many different buttons. The map layout's fine for the most part. I found myself disabling each legend individually just to figure out what the fuck they're used for, because if you hover over them, nothing really happens unless it's like a merchant or a trader. Old school RuneScape, I think, is in the same boat. It has a fairly complex UI, but Tutorial Island gives you each piece of the UI at a time and explains it to you briefly, but effectively. It's like, this is your inventory where your items are kept, this is your skill page, this is your prayers, so on, and then there's subcategories in those as well. And this leads on to another issue that I had, which is tooltips. So they're either quite good and simple or completely fucking useless. For example, there's a mount called a Dream Horse in the game that you get just for playing. It's a tier 9 out of 10 mount, so one of the best. There are 3 different versions, all with different passives and abilities. So the Pegasus has wings, the Doom Horse is fast with needs for speed Nitros, and it does like a frontal AoE cone damage. And then the Unicorn heals you and moves faster in desert plains apparently. But none of this is in the game. I had to go to the official YouTube to get this information, and it isn't described at all on the tooltips what they do. So if you're a new player, you just have to go off which color you like the most and guess which one you want. And if you think one looks cooler later on, then unlucky, because it's like one of the top tier mounts in the game. You probably won't be getting another for quite a long time. My biggest issue isn't that there is no tooltip. It's that the game assumes you're willing to go to external sites for more information. Whilst this isn't inherently bad, for example, min-maxing gear, simming your character, or endgame rotations, if you're just wanting basic info, it doesn't provide it in-game. Maybe I'm being a bit of a toddler here, but I think other games do it much better. So Final Fantasy XIV slowly leads you into the combat, getting new skills every 2 to 3 levels. It gives you time to build up your rotation. And something like New World only has a handful of abilities to look at, so you can actually spend time reading them and the passives and understand what they do. But BDO gives you 10 to 15 abilities with passives in the first 20 minutes of the game, and you just have to... I'm not studying for a PhD trying to play an MMO, my guy. The combat tutorial that I got was left click and right click to attack. And my right click didn't even attack. It misses the mark for a tutorial section of the game. And I put air quotes and say tutorial very fucking loosely here, because it is not a tutorial. It is a glorified cutscene. My main point is that it assumes you're going to spend a few hours figuring out what each button means, how it relates to passives, how they can combo together. And the reality is, most new players aren't going to do that. They're going to get confused, overwhelmed, and uninstall. If you're enjoying watching me ranting and raving so far, chuck a like and subscribe if you're new here. If you hate it, let me know in the comments below. Tell me why I suck at BDO and why I should never make videos again. Daddy, dominate me. Okay, no, stop. Alright, the gathering and crafting. I'm not a life skiller. I never really found much entertainment in it, except Tutic harpoon fishing in RuneScape, because I'm a masochist and I like when my wrists hurt. Doing a brief amount of skilling in BDO was really quite peaceful. It was nice to take some respite from the flashy spell effects and the cracked out combat, and with such a beautifully designed game and world, it felt really serene just to go to the top of a mountain, pick some herbs, mine some rocks, and just take in the surroundings. I could just go outside, I guess, but... And the crafting animations look really good too. When you're cooking, doing simple cooking, your character literally pulls out a Barbie, or a barbecue for all you non-Aussies, and it looks good. It's really cool. I like it. It's a great little animation. They don't have to add it in, but they did, and it's good. And there's like difference between like simple cooking and like cuisine cooking. If you've got meat, you can just like cook it up, and if you've got like to make a cake, then you can make a cake. I don't know, I didn't do any cuisine cooking, but I like the idea. I think it's a cool idea. Gathering also really incentivizes exploration of the world. That's what I did. I was like, oh, I want to go gather. And I just found myself wandering to the top of a mountain, trying to like explore like I was 12 and playing WoW for the first time. And it was Cataclysm. And you know, like there's a quest in Dun Moreau. I was playing a dwarf hunter. I felt like I was 12 again, just kind of exploring the world. And oh boy, is it a massive world, like a massive world. I really wanted to do some sailing for shits and gigs, so I bought a boat and I tried to sail out to seas. But again, the game seems to like not want you to go sailing until you're like past level 56, because each zone has certain AP for it. AP is basically gear level, and then there's different like grinding zones on the map. So I think it wants you not to sail. I could have, it told me to go get a sailor, and I just thought, I'm probably gonna just stop playing for now. It's fine if you don't want people to go explore early, then that's fine. I mean, most people probably aren't. They're just gonna probably try and go through the MSQ, but I wanted to sail and then I couldn't. Well, it is what it is. I'm not like too miffed about it, but you know. Speaking of the MSQ, the main story quest, let's talk about it. I found it a bit bland and uninteresting, and I think the trope of adventurer who forgets who they are when they're really powerful is really played out.
Are you dying of dementia?
It's fine. It's just cliched writing. And most writing's cliched nowadays, so I'm not super salty about it. I don't want to talk too much shit about the story either, because A Realm Reborn is fucking dog shit, and then Heavensward, it's like PogChamp from there. So maybe this gets better too. I didn't really like that there was really important story cutscenes that you could skip, and it would also skip the combat as well. It would just skip everything, like an entire chunk. And then these really stupid cutscenes that had nothing to do with anything, you couldn't skip them. Voice acting was, for the most part, pretty good. Eileen and Grusha's voice actings did a really fantastic job in my opinion, as well as the barmaid and the chief. Some other voice actors were just like okay, a bit bland, a bit boring, a bit forgettable. I get that not every character has to be likable or the most engaging characters in the world. You do have to have some brevity, but Some of them just didn't feel like they had a lot of life to them. It just felt like reading words off a page and that was it. There were a lot of times the script and the delivery of the lines genuinely had me laughing and I was like, great, that's awesome. Like more of that.
Oops. Did I say that out loud? I'll just go stick my head in a cauldron and die now.
Come now, child. No need to
It's just me.
They are in need.
There also seems to be a lot of functions and features in the game that are like irrelevant or forgotten or just poorly explained or not explained at all. Like amity and conversations are super random and I still don't know what they do. So in my exploration, I also did a jump challenge and there was a chest at the end and I was like, oh my God, they're rewarding me for completing this really simple jump challenge. And I was like, sweet. And then I opened the chest up and there was nothing in it. Maybe it's linked with a quest? Why not just have the quest giver be the chest? And if it's to troll the player base, then like, good job, I guess? I don't know, it left a sour taste in my mouth. So I felt like really proud that I did it and I was just like, it felt like the game was just telling me to get fucked. There also seems to be an AFK training tool, which you can use above 50 to get to 99% of that level, which is a really decent idea for such a grindy game. But I can't help but think it's just another way for the devs just to keep you in this fucking game as long as possible. Like the dice game, which is you get 3 rolls of dice each day, but you've got to wait 30 minutes between each roll before you can roll it. And there's also daily login bonuses, coupons for the in-game cash shop, which seems extremely expensive, just by the way, a normal and a premium battle pass. It's just overloaded with buttons on the UI. It feels like they're trying to just milk their players for as much money as possible. I don't know. That's the impression I got. It is a free game. I can't be too angry with them. The most fun I had in the game was just playing cards with NPCs for like 20 minutes. And if I was to play BDO as like my main game, I think the majority of the time would just be spent doing like the seemingly uninteresting things like jump puzzles, card games, like inefficient gathering just to like take the scenery in. I also found a music tab, which was like people had created their own music. And goddamn it, they fucking bops. When I first started playing Final Fantasy XIV in New World, this was like one of the main things I started doing because I have instruments in there. So I just pulled out an instrument and one of my best friends, for hours, we were just jamming in the city. And in New World, you can tip people if they do a good job playing a musical instrument. God. So this was like a callback to that and I really appreciated it. I think this would genuinely be an awesome game for like life skillers and social butterflies. That being said, the community seems a bit hit and miss. So be warned for some unfortunate things that might be said in chat. I like auto pathing. It's useful, better than fight paths or like auto running or like auto flight where you're just like in a straight line because you just hit an unlock. That shit, this is good. As is a 3D map, that's kind of like a cool addition. I never used it, but it's a nice option. The decisions to pick up quest lines also felt impactful to the story. Like my character was driving it and like making decisions, which I really enjoy. It makes me feel more immersed in the world. And I think it's a great feature in an MMO, and more MMOs really should do it, like how SWTOR does it so well. So, TLDR, it's a long fucking video. It has really cool and unique combat. People who like fighters, I think, will really enjoy it. There's great random events for killing time, like the card games, the music. Life skills seem pretty solid from what I experienced. Stories, to okay, but the voice acting makes up for it for the most part. The mount system's also pretty decent. I like how it's like Guild Wars and they all have the different abilities. UI and HUD, way too much clutter. Nothing's explained and it's not the best new player experience. So if you do like to figure shit out for yourself, you don't mind researching games as you play or before you play them, this will probably be a great game for you. If you get easily frustrated and hate being confused and like to be handheld like a little baby, like me, maybe stay away from it. Anyways, I'm tired, I'm off to bed, despite the fact that it is fucking sunny as shit outside. Thanks for watching and I will catch you in the next one. Cheers.